Hello everyone, it's me, Chaff Commander Coffee, and as you can see, this is going to be a notification for all of you who have commented on my channel update for May, as well as the rest of you on YouTube who could be interested, or hopefully are interested in seeing some more Realism Invictus. Now, I did my guide series. I didn't go on to finish it. It was, I'm supposed to show people how to, really get into the early to mid game, and then from there you should be able to make the decisions yourself, or make some sort of strategic choices that'll help you go into the late game and succeed. This is not going to be that. This is going to be hopefully a full Realism Invictus playthrough. I say hopefully because the first part of it I will be playing on Twitch. That's right, you can pop in and watch me play Realism Invictus live on Twitch. Tomorrow will be tomorrow of this video going up, which will be, let me just double check the date. Okay, it will be the 16th of May. 16th of May at around 12 GMT, so like midday GMT, up until the late evening, so probably around 7 or 8 o'clock, or 7 or 8 PM GMT. I might start a bit earlier, depends when I'm awake and ready to go. But yes, I'll be playing it live, so for all of you that are interested, you can pop in and have a little chat with me, maybe have a couple of questions about Realism Invictus, maybe just want to watch some gameplay and see how it goes. And I think this video is just mostly going to be going over how I'm going to set the game up. So now a couple of you have commented on the video about what you would like to see me play for Realism Invictus, and I'm going to be running with my particular preferences for the game, and I will go over those now, and the map we will be playing on, as well as the difficulty. So we're going to be playing on Emperor, and I'm probably going to die. So if you're watching me live, this is it's going to be at least a couple of tries for the early game. I'll know very quickly whether or not I stand any chance of surviving in the game, and I'll just go over the rest of the settings, and you'll hopefully understand why it's going to be quite hard. So we're going to have AI place to win, and the victory conditions we're going to run are Conquest and Space Race, because I like to give the AI the option to focus on technology. I think that can be quite interesting as well. And Cultural, if one of the AI wants to go for a cultural win, build lots of wonders, and build those cities up. It's quite possible they want to do that rather than Conquest. We're going to have Protect Valuable Units, which kind of works with Stack Attack if I don't want to be super heavy on micro, but in the early game I will be microing quite a lot, so it's not going to be that relevant. But maybe as the game goes on, as you watch it on YouTube, you might see this come into play. Basically, your well-promoted units, or the more production expensive units, will get held back until the enemy's been beaten down a bit. And this works with great generals as well. I'm going to run no slave and serf rebellions, mostly because I don't have such a problem with slave and serf rebellions, but what tends to happen is that the AI that are bordering you will pick up slavery or serfdom, and then they won't actually deal with their slave and serf rebels, and they'll just move into your lands and start burning your stuff down. It's just a real pain in the arse, and I think there's more of the fun in the strat. And now this is all just personal opinion, obviously, so if you play differently by all means. But I find it less fun on a strategic level when just occasionally, like, I don't play with random events either. And I feel like slave and serf rebellions kind of feel a bit like random events, when you get random event, barbarian horde spawns on your borders. And to be honest, the slave and serf rebellions, when you get a larger empire, tend to crop up more or less every other turn, and it's just a massive pain in the arse dealing with them. I don't think it really adds much to the game. so I'm not going to have them on. Yeah, we won't have Religious Shock on. I'm just going to talk about the ones that I do have on rather than the ones that I don't. So I'm going to have no unit cost scaling. So in base Realism Invictus, or vanilla if you're playing with just none of the settings turned on, as you build units you train of the same type cost more production to build. So for example, if I train a spearman, the next spearman I build will cost 10% more production to build. The next spearman after that will cost 20% more, and etc, etc. I liked having this turned off because I feel it makes the wars a lot more epic, like larger scale wars happening earlier on in the game, which I think is fun to watch. And it also is quite nice from a strategic point of view because you've got more armies to manage, and that feels fun as well. And also as the game progresses, I find it can be, when you get to gunpowder and units become a bit more homogenous, you know, like 90%, or like not 90%, but like at least half my army is just going to be the same kind of musket troop. Like, it becomes really expensive to make your armies larger when you have unit cost scaling, because you'll have like 20 or 30 troops, and to build the 31st troop it will take like 3 times the amount of production that it did the first time. And it just gets like, again, it discourages like larger empires doing warfare against equally large empires, especially on higher difficulties. The AI doesn't feel this penalty as much as I will. Now, you might think, oh well, if you have no unit cost scaling, the AI is going to outproduce you like crazy. Yes, when they're producing troops, but what I've come to learn with the Realism Invictus AI is that if they're not at war, they tend to not overproduce units. Now, they will produce units specifically to attack a nation, but they build like a large field army, send it into your lands, and if you can defeat it, they tend to want peace after that if you can beat it early on in the war, say the first 10 turns of the war. And once you've pieced them out, they tend not to go too crazy on building troops after that. So I think this will give me a bit of a helping hand with actually keeping Emperor AI off my doorstep, because to be honest, Emperor AI is not. If like the higher levels of difficulty in Standard Civ can be exploited, in Realism Invictus the AI is so much better. Hopefully you've seen in my previous videos that the AI it actually does play well, and because of that, yeah, Emperor bonuses on top of a strong AI make for a really tough game. And I've played on Emperor before. I've mostly played on Monarch, but I have played on Emperor before, and there's many situations where I think I'm ahead, and give it another 100 turns, and suddenly I'm third power on the map as opposed to the top one. You just really gotta keep ahead of the game if you want to win on a difficulty level like Emperor. Aside from that, we have no random events. Like I said, don't like random events. Sometimes it adds, you know, sometimes you get good stuff, sometimes you just get your forge, you build your forge, it takes you 20 turns, and then it gets burnt down the turn after. Like, I can't be bothered to deal with that. It's just not particularly fun. Some of the random events are great, you know, like, oh, we just discovered animal husbandry, there's some horses there, and then villagers just build a road and pasture for you. It feels fantastic, right? But I don't like random events. I don't like the RNG. I like the strategic, the logical elements of civilization, so I turn random events off. And on top of that, I'm going to have no tribal villagers, because again, tribal villagers can be very like swingy. Sometimes you just get some gold or a useless piece of map information. Other times you'll get a free technology, which is just really powerful. So I'll just keep tribal villagers off. I'm going to have no vassal states. I've had in previous games where one AI tends to get more powerful than the others, and then it just vassalizes half the map. I'm not even joking. I've had a lot of games when you get to the sort of high medieval period, and one AI has vassalized like 5 other nations on the map, and it just becomes impossible to defeat them. Not because they're more technologically advanced, not because their armies are better than yours or bigger than yours, but because there are now 5 civilizations who most certainly have a bigger army than yours, and fighting all of them is just not feasible. So I don't like vassal states. I could also vassalize civs, but because of the diplomatic issues with playing on higher difficulty levels, which aren't so apparent in Realism Invictus as they are in standard Civ, but they're still there in a sense. You know, the AI is less likely to want to vassalize if you're not as powerful as you might be if they were on a lower difficulty, because they can train more troops, blah blah blah. No vassal states for anybody. New random seed on reload. I mean, I don't save scum, but just randomizing the seed every time I load up my save game, it's just kind of like a habit thing that I do. And I'm going to be playing this live on Twitch, so you'll see that I don't save scum. Like, if I get wrecked, I'll just start from scratch again, which hopefully makes the map a bit more interesting as well. We're going to have no tech trading or brokering. We do have technological diffusion from writing and open borders, but not from tech. I don't like tech trading. Tech trading it's one of those things that you kind of have to abuse in the higher difficulty levels, like on base Civ, like on deity and that sort of thing, to really get ahead and beat the AI. You don't really need to do that in Realism Invictus, and if you do have tech trading and brokering on, then when the AI starts trading with each other, it gets really out of whack, and then if you don't have friends, they won't give you tech, and then suddenly there's an AI that's got, like, I don't know, nuclear weapons in like the 1500s. Now, the date of the game is not actually accurate in Realism Invictus. The developers have actually said this as well. The timescale for turns is not accurate to technological progression most of the time. But you get the idea. Like, I'll be like, oh, I just discovered gunpowder, and there'll be another AI that's like, oh, I've been trading with some of my neighbors, and now I have nuclear fission. Like, yeah, not good. Aside from that, we are going to be going with Raging Barbarians, because I am, I'm masochistic, so I like to hurt myself by having, and Barbarians on noble difficulty can be a little bit of an issue in the early game. You know, you've got to have a couple of defenders to deal with them, or else they'll burn your tile improvements down, and it's just a pain in the arse. On Emperor difficulty with Raging Barbarians, the barbarians are out the gates. Like, I will have dozens of barbarians coming towards my city every turn for the first couple hundred turns of the game. And you might think, why bother? Like, you're not going to be able to expand. Yes, but it also helps curb the AI as well, since they'll have masses of barbarians going for them. And depending on how the map turns out, this can either go in our favor or against us. We'll just see how it goes. And aside from that, all those settings are fine. The map we're going to be playing on is, let's see, Terra. I think it's a nice Earth map to go with. I think it was Terra was a different one I was going to go for. I'm fairly sure it was Terra. So yeah, we're going to play on Terra. And I'm going to be playing on a large map. Actually, see, I'm torn between having a larger map with a decent number of civs or having a smaller map with more civs, simply because I don't want turn times to be too long by having the map too large, for example. So I think I'll leave it on standard, but I will increase the number of civs up to 12, and we'll see how that goes. The map's going to be more packed, which should lead to some interesting warfare and alliance and religious decisions. I feel like if you have it on a larger map size, especially with the AI being on a higher difficulty, they can build settlers a lot easier, and that tends to mean that one AI always ends up getting a land advantage and gets down like 6 or 7 cities before the end of the classical era, or not even the end of the classical era, like midway through the classical era. They'll have like 6 or 7 cities down, and they have potential to expand more just because they like land grabbing. And I think with adding more civs on a smaller map, that will help try to even things out a little bit, especially with all the barbarians. I think it will also try and keep the barbarians at a more reasonable level, because the barbarians should spread out and attack the civ that's nearest to their spawn points, as opposed to perhaps you start in a location that's quite isolated and you end up getting every single barbarian in the nearest 20 tiles, and it just ends up being hell on earth. So, okay. Those are the settings. Aside from that, climate, temperate. I do sometimes like to play with low sea levels, since the sea ends up being fairly large anyway, and it does give a little bit more land mass, which works nicely when you're adding extra civs to the game. So I think I'm going to put the sea level to low. We're going to be starting on the ancient era, obviously. Speed will be on realistic. World map will be cylindrical. I don't like the full toroidal one. It feels a bit weird. It's like you don't have a polarized cap. It's very odd. Well, I mean you do, but you can like wander over it, which is not really the point. And resources on standard, not balanced, standard. You get the resources you're given, and you're happy about it. You don't put balanced, because then every civ ends up with like iron quite close to them, and it takes away some of the elements of how do I build my army based on the resources I have. How do I expand my nation? Do I have the luxury resources? Am I going to have to trade for them? That sort of thing. So that is the setup we're going to go with. And that's about it. That's all I need to talk about. Oh, actually, there's one last thing. There has been a civilization request. Only one, as far as I'm aware. But, you know, 1 vote for, 0 votes for anything else. So that's what we're going to do. And, that was a very large spider there. Sorry, there's a little harvest spider in my room and it was getting a bit friendly. Hello. Anyway, right, we are going to be playing as, let's see, Napoleon the First. I assume they want me to play Napoleon the First, not Napoleon the Third. But I don't honestly remember. They just said play as Napoleon of France, so I'm going to assume they mean Napoleon the First, and that's who we're going to play as. And yeah, that's basically the setup of the game, and you'll be able to watch me play this tomorrow again at around midday GMT up till sort of the mid evening, because then I'll go and get some food, and I need to set up my tabletop that I'm running on Friday. But yeah, so Thursday the 16th of May, we're going to be playing this live for all you guys on Twitch. If you don't catch me live, that's fine. What I'll be doing is I will be cutting up the part of the stream. If I have to do multiple tries or attempts, I'll cut those up and post them so you guys can just see what the game is like on the higher difficulty levels if you're not able to play at those levels yourself, but you'd like to see how it kind of works. And I will be then dividing, well, I'll probably release the first part if it all goes in one try and one attempt, like for the full like 6 or so hours that I play, and it just goes fine. That's all well and good. I will split that up into probably about half-hour episodes. I might also split it up depending on when I take tea breaks, because that's something that will happen very regularly. And yeah, I'll post those up on YouTube for you to see if you miss it live, or you can just check the video like recording log on Twitch, and the video will be on there as well, if you want to watch the full uncut stream. Mind you, I don't like editing and cutting out a bunch of stuff. Like, I feel it's more fun to watch people, if it's not like a meme video, it's more fun to watch people actually, you know, go through it step by step. At least that's how I do it, so that's how I hope you guys like watching it too. Anyway, that's everything I had to say for the setup. This video will be going up very shortly after I've finished recording it, so you guys know what's happening, and hopefully you're excited. I'm excited. I want to get my ass kicked multiple times on Realism Invictus, because that's always good fun. And hopefully one of those times we can actually do well. Maybe we'll get a whole single wonder, because wonders are hard to get too. But we'll see. I'll talk more about the civilization itself in the first video on stream. So if any of you want to know what the traits are like, or the specific units for France in Realism Invictus, then that will be something you can all check out on the day. Right, so with that done, as always guys, it's been me, Chaff Commander Coffee. Thanks for checking this out, and if you're going to be watching on YouTube, I'll see you in the first sort of episodes that I upload, and I'll also see you in any of the attempts that don't go so well. And you'll see that I play somewhat risky, because you kind of have to, just to just to get that little bit of an extra edge in the early game, or else you just fall really far behind. So you'll see me play a little risky at times, and hopefully it pays off. Otherwise, we will just crawl into a ball and cry. But if it goes well, then, well, all is well. And for those of you that are planning on watching me on Twitch, I look forward to seeing you there, interacting with you guys whilst I play the game. You can ask me any questions you like regarding Realism Invictus or any of the other series that I've played or are planning on playing in the future, or just, you know, general stuff. You know, if you want to know what my favourite cheese is, or what kind of tea I drink, or I don't know, just anything. Just ask away. That's why I'm on Twitch, to interact with you guys. Right, and that's it for now. I'll see you all around. Goodbye.